I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Moore.
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Iacili.
Here.
Councilman Pell.
Here.
Councilman Scavone.
By
All right.
Zoom.
Very good. Thank you. We're going to start today's meeting with a request for a proposed zone change on County Road 39 from R40 to Highway Business 200 CR 39, 2036 County Road 39, 161 Hill Station Road. And with us, we have Carl Benacasa representing the applicant and Janice Shear, our Town Planning and Development Administrator, joining us. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Seth just meant to make copies because I wasn't sure if I wrote a report from the last time, but Carl's back with an update. You may recall last time we looked at this, there was a question about it just being a single piece. And you had asked him to go find out if the gas station and the Bentley Hotel were interested in joining in, so it could be a cohesive block. And so Carl has our update.
Yeah, so we've spoken with both the
Get the
actual
pass
owners and their representatives. And they've each signed letters in support and joining the application for the zone change. And those are being handed to you. The owner of the gas station is F&E Realty Company. Its managing member and vice president signed it, as you can see in the letter dated June 6th. And the owner of the hotel is Southampton Hotel Realty LLC. Its managing member, Ketan Patel, who I've spoken with directly, signed this letter dated June 10th. Both letters and stating they fully support the change of zone and join in the application to modify the zoning on their property from R40 to Highway Business. So I think the process now after the work session is but I'll let Janice and council speak to it, but I believe this board would elect to consider the change of zone, which would initiate the formal zone change process, which would involve a public hearing and secret, and then ultimately a vote on approving or disapproving the change.
So it would be for all of the properties, and then would we be able to do any kind of revisiting site plans for cross-access and all of that through this process, or no?
Not through this process, no.
But you'd go through a site plan process after, no?
If there were changes to the
Yeah.
development.
Only if there's changes.
Their future cross-access was granted on that Dance Papers lot. So you just need
The other two.
the other one to
Yeah.
do it. And I know that the hotel is interested in doing a restaurant, so they'll likely be in for that, and then you could require it then.
Drive-throughs are not allowed in HB, just
No, it wouldn't be a
put that
drive-through.
out there. A restaurant associated with the hotel.
Yeah.
So we have the County Road 39 corridor plan, if anyone's not familiar with it. This is a land use study, and it had no actual recommendations other than that turnaround that you see now for like right where. So Inlet Road, you can spin around and go back west. There's no real, our biggest concern was spot zoning and not having a comprehensive way of doing this, but now that people have joined in, it's really at your discretion now if you want to go forward.
You mean
Consider it.
the two neighbors when you say?
Yeah. So now you have a comprehensive block that is something that, you're not just only working with one parcel.
Seth is coming back with the map, but it's the hotel piece, the Bentley Hotel, that gas station right in front, and then the Dance.
So there'll be 3 applicants making this, whether or not you're doing the work for them or
I'm
not,
doing
but
the work for them,
but they're gonna,
joining in the application.
they're joining in the application.
That's right.
Then there's a residential section and before the commercial starts again.
Behind the hotel is I think it's state-owned land, but it's completely open. Then
Change the Long County Road 39.
Yeah, to the,
Yeah.
to
yeah,
the east.
oh, to the east, yeah, then there's the,
At the corner,
that's correct.
that's residential.
It's Hill Station Road, and then it's residential, and then it's commercial.
Yeah.
Right, and the comp plan talks about that, east of Hill Station Road to, sort of create like a common drive easement along those parcels in the future.
So these businesses are all pre-existing non-conforming. I would just like to know what the, changing it to highway business, what other uses would then be permitted uses that
Sure.
we'd be looking at in that block.
Okay, so I could add that to my staff report
Yeah.
for you.
And we have copies of the relevant sections of that, 'cause I can only speak for myself, I haven't read that.
Sure.
I don't know
This
that.
is always, just so you know, online, but if you don't have books, when they were adopted, all the council people always get copies, but I don't know if they left
Doesn't
them
get
for
Do
you.
you have extra copies?
We can have them
Of the
made for
hard
you.
copy?
Sure,
Get
we can.
whatever's left in our
It's always
office.
nice to have it as a
Exactly.
book, right?
Yeah, I like it.
So, just pass it over, you can take a look, that's the,
What year was-
this is considered quadrant one.
2015.
2015.
We've heard about it.
Yeah, so that's all the improvements and things along County Road 39. Those are the recommendations. There's no specific recommendations. The hotel would still remain non-conforming because hotels aren't allowed in the highway business. So you're not really doing them any favors. They'll still have to come in one non-conforming to another, or they still are always under the 50% expansion rule when they're, either way.
So adding a restaurant to that.
Adding a restaurant means they're in that 50% expansion rule because they're still non-conforming.
Hotels are still on.
In highway business, although, you might want to revisit that
Which you work on and stuff.
comprehensively across the town. Because, there are hotels on the highway and it doesn't really always make sense that they're not allowed to be there.
Two more just on 39.
Right,
I don't know if this
So,
is the time.
it doesn't make sense. So, but the gas station would become conforming.
Jan-
And the dance papers.
And obviously, dance papers.
Janice, in the staff report, can we add just like an analysis of the one non-conforming use to another? Because I know that's something the town board now does anyway, instead of the zoning board of appeals, but just because it's like a weird, you're asking for a change of zone into from changing it from one non-conforming zone to
Do you
another.
want you mean the history of what that was before, previous?
Yeah, and why doing it, like giving them this change of zone, even though they're still gonna be non-conforming, makes sense, you know what I mean?
Well, why,
Because you're
Dance
allowing-
papers will still be conforming. Will be
Right, no, I just mean
So
for
will the
terms of
gas
the
station.
hotel, I'm really
Yeah.
talking about the
Okay.
hotel.
why will the hotel not, I missed that part.
The
not be
hotel is
conforming?
non-conforming either way,
So we're
right now,
So that's why,
or highway business.
So we're
Right.
doing it just so that we're not spot
So you're
zoning,
actually-
we're not really bringing them into conformity.
no,
Unless
no.
you then.
Well, do you think that? would
What I'm
be
saying
better
is
suited
because
for
you
a
would get,
development?
it's an unusual situation where you would be voluntarily changing one zone to another zone and where someone's asking for it, but they're still non-conforming. So since you get non-conforming uses anyway before this board, I would just like belts and suspenders, I would address the fact that the hotel is still non-conforming, but why it makes sense, even though it still would be non-conforming, that it makes sense to do this.
It makes more
You know
sense in
what I
a
mean?
highway business zone than a residential zone.
Correct, something like that.
Yeah.
I think the larger view is this, whether the hotel stays there or not, that parcel is better suited for HB development. Right.
Right, but they have to, but there is an existing use there going on that they
No.
have to somehow address in terms of
I don't know
substantiating it.
how they would add a restaurant in the first place because they are like kind of maxed out, so on the flow. So the
Yeah, no,
the hotel,
I don't represent the hotel. There's something they said offhanded to me, so I don't know.
Oh.
if they-
but you will be representing them?
In the change, you
In the
do
change.
represent them in the change of zone if they are an applicant.
If they join the application, I guess I'm speaking for them as well.
Right, but they have to join in the
They did
application.
join, they're willing to join the application.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
If you, so the process is if
either-
you elect to consider it, then they will all jointly make the application and
Yes.
have counsel.
Exactly.
You or otherwise,
It may be
Exactly.
me, it may be me and co-counsel.
and then they would speak for themselves as to their intentions for their plans. Your client intends on keeping the use the way it is and allowing the second office as they had before.
But that's why I asked about the cross-access, because through this process we have in the past, there has been kind of a give and take, kind of like when Dance Papers came in for the initial change of one non-conforming use to another, and we said, okay, we'll do it, but you have to limit it to one
You can condition the zone change, is that what you're asking?
Absolutely.
on cross-access.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Absolutely.
That's your ability. You can do that. He was meaning on a site plan, typically cross-access doesn't kick
Yeah, yeah.
in until someone applies for something, but if you wanted to make that a condition of.
Because I just know in the past, the going through
Well,
these
we're gonna go
change
through
of zones,
secra,
we-
of course,
yeah.
so that would be, maybe if it's an unlisted action, well, you'd have to coordinate. But anyway, I would figure that out, I'll put that in there too. So I'm gonna update the staff report and send that around, and then you would have to make a decision. I'm sorry, like, Seth, I asked him to make copies, it's probably taking forever.
That's okay.
But this, so the hotel will still be non-conforming, but any changes or additions that it wants to make would have to be conforming, right? Just because it's not conforming doesn't mean it can make further non-conforming
They can.
changes.
Well, they can, but they would
50%
come to you.
expansion.
They would come to you to do that. though.
No, only
Not to
one,
over a certain
only the
percent,
use,
right?
one onto another, but if you are just staying a
Structure.
hotel and you want to expand, you're
Right.
limited to a 50% expansion.
Which
And
they
you have to
now,
go
but
to
they
the
have that now.
ZBA, yeah, so, they really don't have, that's what I'm saying, why I said they're maxed out, there is no
The
other
change of zone
plan.
would do nothing to impact their ability to expand, except I think septic is the issue.
The septic is the issue, and they also are at that 50% rule
Yeah.
that they've already
They've already expanded.
expanded, so I don't see any further expansion.
But any other change that they would want to make to their property would have to fit within the highway business rules. It couldn't just be, oh, well, we're non-conforming, so we can put another non-conforming use on our property.
They would have to come to you
To
for
do
it
that.
to go from one non-conforming to another. So you would need to weigh in on that, which is the case now.
Mhm.
But as for an as-of-right use, they couldn't do it.
They're not going to be any better off or worse off, basically.
If they wanted to do put a restaurant, they would have to take away some of the rooms. Take some of the.
Well, they
use
have
of-
to always meet the flow from the health
Yeah.
department, so
They have to
it's
take
a
some-
balancing
Probably
act.
take away some of the rooms.
Yeah.
I don't know the specifics of their plan. They had mentioned to me down the
Anyway, they have
road
to
that
come
they
back.
were interested in that, but yes. Oh, yeah, they'd have to come
Yeah.
back.
So it's not really forced really to worry about.
You don't have to worry about that anytime soon, but it is a good consideration to, in your
Think about.
deliberations, as to what the impacts of these things mean. So, any
Which
questions
in
for
all
Carl?
fairness, we wouldn't know that information if you
No, I'm
Give
an
it to
open
us.
book.
didn't. So, I mean, he could have said nothing and we would have not even known they were contemplating that, so.
So yeah, so
not something
the
that's
subject
before
of this
us.
is now not just Dan's papers, but it's the gas station and the hotel. And that would be the block that we're talking about for
Yeah,
highway
I'm
business.
definitely interested in looking at it. Like I said, I just want to know what the other conforming uses would be under that.
So add a use table to the
Thank you,
report.
Jen. Oh, sorry.
I will have copies of this made. Thank you.
And then, Janice, I'm not familiar, the process now is there's a resolution to elect a consular.
There would be if they direct me to write one. So you'll
Report.
let me know, or you can decide now if you want a resolution,
Well, I mean, we're just seeing this, so we can't do it for this minute.
No, I could prepare a
This
resolution.
piece.
you
Where's
know.
the
No,
third
this
piece?
was submitted last time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where's the,
You
where's
have
the?
this.
One, two,
Yeah.
oh, that's,
1, 2, 3.
You have this?
Oh, there's like a little.
Yeah,
That-
thank you.
This doesn't, this is an old aerial that I didn't fully
You
show
have
all three.
I have.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have that? This is
Appreciate
Tommy John's.
We have yours, Tommy John.
Less more.
So on the little aerial on the first page of the report, the other report I wrote for the last meeting we had, you
Mhm.
could see all three parcels. The corner, the hotel, and the Dan's papers. On
So
this
then you're
big
really
aerial,
just
you can't really
updating
see
this
it.
with the uses.
Yeah, I'm gonna update it with the conversations about
What's the date on this?
This was from, I didn't have a date on
I think it was in April.
it. Yeah, a few months ago.
So this has all been, you've had this. The
Yeah.
only thing different would be the use table
So, and then I
And,
added,
and
see
the
the,
information.
And that we asked you to go and get the other,
and here they are, yeah.
Yep.
So I think we would ask that the board direct planning to, what is it, to elect to
to write a
write a
resolution for your
resolution to let them to
consideration.
consider this.
Yeah.
we'd like to see the report first and the, what you just said you were gonna provide provide to us.
This is the report,
Which is
which I
the
wrote for
report.
the last time, and
I
I'm
thought
gonna
you said
add
you
to
were
it.
gonna update
Yeah,
the
I'm gonna
report.
update it to add to it the
Do you
table of
want to pull up
uses.
the HB uses?
Yeah, it is. I did write on this.
It's unlisted, yeah.
Maybe
Table
if
of
they have the
uses?
update by next week, we can have it, if the board is so inclined, we can do a resolution for the next town board meeting, which would be the 13th.
Yeah, or you just, update it and send it to you on email.
Yeah, I can
don't
email
think
you
we
the-
need
the
another
table
work
of
I'm just saying,
session.
either way, it's not gonna get on before the 13th, that's the next meeting.
Whatever you want.
It's all right.
Well, I would like to just emphasize that, and I remember from the last meeting, I believe the overall conclusion here was the zone change would actually advance or enhance continuity of the particular area. Is that correct? Is that what the goal here really is? I mean, from a planning perspective, at the very least.
Absolutely.
Is it, although there's that big swath of residential, so should we talk about that as
Where's
well?
where's the residential?
It's surrounded by residential.
So that would be staying the
So
way
it's
it
not
is.
like you're making it consistent
Well,
or
you're making a
contiguous.
node, a commercial cluster.
You're making a separate.
Which has always
commercial
been.
cluster.
It already
been
is
It's never been residential.
So the only other option is the highway office business, which we haven't developed yet, and that's also like a recommendation of this plan, which was like highway business light. But we haven't developed that, and I wouldn't wanna hold them up for that, cause that's gonna take a lot more time for,
Right.
uh,
I guess my only pause here is, given the traffic concerns on County Road 39, given the zoning change requests that we have had to consider previously, we're getting comments from the community, especially in Southampton, about being very cautious about zoning and zone changes that may, in fact, create a precedent of more development. And I'm not saying that this is what is happening here, but I just think in terms of the supervisor's, concern, I think that there is a valid reason. Let's maybe have another, review of a report with some of the greater details. And
right, well, absolutely. And
Yeah.
but of course, in your elect to consider, then all of that, if you consider it, all those
Yeah,
things
you're
come into
not-
play.
You wouldn't be approving it.
Then begin
Sure.
the
Just saying,
review.
is there enough for the
Are
board
you
to
gonna even
consider?
bother having a review, or are you going to say,
Sure.
we decline to
Sure.
consider this at this time?
And that's, to my point, that's really the only way, the only mechanism we have to condition this to have access, cross access so that it goes out to Hill Station instead of onto 39.
Could you get rid of that
Which
access?
I wouldn't mind them coming in there,
But just not
but just
exiting?
not exiting.
This is a full-blown
And
town board process with public
Yeah.
hearing and everything.
Yeah.
So
You need traffic
we're just
studies.
simply asking that you allow us
And
to
then we do the
proceed.
traffic studies
Yeah.
and everything else. And
Could- Cindy, also, when you come out of Hill Station Road, on the County Road 39,
Yeah.
one corner, where it's residential, if you can make that corner a lot easier to turn, if you
Yeah.
can cut back on it, like almost put a merge lane in there, that would really help traffic. But that's not here.
I wish the traffic coming out of Hill Station could only go east. Because
That's how you
they
can
go
just-
left and they hit that
Mm.
non-existent center turn lane and they're pinched right there and
There's a lot of
bad
car
news,
accidents
yeah.
there. Major car accidents.
So, I mean, I think this gives us a mechanism to address that potentially, so I would be open to at least considering it, getting the traffic study done and seeing how we can make this site better.
I think we should move forward. The traffic study.
So what we'll do is we'll update the report and put on a resolution probably at the end of August, and you will debate that resolution and determine whether or not you're going to consider it. If
Okay.
you don't wanna consider it, the resolution will fail. If you want to consider it, it will pass,
We
right?
still
So
have
that's
plenty
how
of
it
time to
works.
look over
And that's
everything.
why we do it this way, so that everybody
even
has
if it
consensus
passes,
whether or not
then
you're gonna
debate
move
the
forward.
merits.
But we need some facts, information like that book.
Sure, we
I
have
put
it's all
the
Maria, it's all in
recommendations
this
from this
report.
book in the original report, of course.
It's all in
It's
this
already
report.
there.
Then you can make it on the gas station
The
too, where
report I had given you the last time we were here had the recommendations from here in it.
you pull out the gas station,
It
you
had
can
the
only make a right.
recommendation about the highway office business.
It says here, planning recommendations, and the page before, it says the subject property is located in quadrant 1, and then it has items 1 through 5 from this book.
What is the deal with the restaurant?
Which restaurant?
Was there a restaurant?
Oh, the
or-
Lobster Inn across the street?
No. Was this the subject, the property that had some sort of, with the hotel, that they were proposing a potential restaurant? Is this the same one or no? Am I thinking of a different property here?
I only heard Carl say that today.
Yeah, what was-
Did it
Sorry?
happen before?
believe council just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
He's
I
talking
heard it
about the
somewhere
Bentley
before.
wanting to potentially add a restaurant for
Right.
the guests.
What's the deal with that? Like
But
what?
there's an
They
Atlantic
don't-
Hotel down the road that's
That's-
adding a
that's
restaurant.
Okay.
Maybe that's the one you're thinking
Okay,
of.
They're converting
That
their whole
they-
site.
And they're
Okay.
changing the whole site, and you gave them, the town board gave them a grant for their upgraded
Okay.
sanitary
I just
system.
wanted
When I
to-
spoke with the
That may
Bentley,
be what you're thinking of.
All right.
when I spoke with the owner of the Bentley Hotel to join in this, he mentioned offhand that
Yeah.
that was that. But that's as
But that would
far as-
come before us completely
That'll
separately.
totally come before you.
Okay,
So this was
okay.
just a side conversation that he mentioned. to me.
Got it.
There's nothing.
I just wanted to clarify
Less
that.
is
Thank you.
more.
He didn't say, I'll join you because I want this restaurant.
No, no,
Because it still wouldn't guarantee that.
not at all.
Okay.
No, it was not conditioned on a restaurant.
I'm fine with that process. What about you?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, let's just get the information as soon as possible before that public, before the resolution goes on.
I mean, I guess technically I could just go on to the zoning use table and look at highway business uses.
It's, yeah, he had it on the screen a minute ago. I mean, I don't know if you wanna.
Oh, I can't read
take
that
the
from here.
time to go through it all. I mean, we can read it off, but I'll add it to the
It's in
report
the-
and you can
It's
look
in
at
the
it.
commercial
but
use table.
Just because it's in the table doesn't mean somebody's necessarily going to do
No,
that.
I just wanted, just
Yeah.
for
'Cause there's a lot
reference,
of
if
strange
we're
ones in
making
there.
all these parcels out, I just wanna know what they can do under
Sure,
that new zoning.
100%.
Would the HB light kind of be like a transition zone almost between?
It's like an HOHC, and the reason why the previous boards never did it was the recommendation was the buildings not exceed 5,000 square feet, and the industry is like, you're killing us, it's not gonna work. So you need to revisit that whole idea because
HB Light.
right now it's 15,000. If you go to 5,000, everybody wants to be more than 15, not 5. So it depends on like what kind of businesses can exist in 5, and whether or not you want to do that. And of course, smaller things look nicer, but is it practical from the perspective of who's needs to be in there, or maybe it is. Maybe that's what you want. So we can talk about that. But it is in here in the first place. Okay, so I'll add to the. Okay, so that's.
What did you say, Councilman?
That I'm okay with the elected to consider.
Okay, so I'll fix the report, prepare a resolution for your consideration. Not
We'll go
this
from there.
next meeting, but at the end of August, so you have some
End of
time.
August.
That sound good? Okay, and happy to meet and talk further if anybody has.
And the
further
resolution will set a public hearing, right?
questions. No, we don't
Just
set
a
a
let
public
to
hearing until you
consider.
submit a formal application completed.
So it'd be let to
With
consider
your
subject to
information.
your submitting.
Can I
Yeah.
submit prior to?
No.
You can, but it won't be accepted.
You've done a traffic study?
Just have it ready to go.
No, you need to give us a complete application formally
After.
with a fee and all that after, with all endorsements from everyone.
All right, we'll get working on it then. Well, I don't know, should we?
I don't know. Well, it sounds like there's at least 3 people that want to consider it, so.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sal.
We're ahead of schedule.
Okay, let's have our liaison updates. And Councilwoman Meckner?
I'm good, thank you.
Michael?
Sorry, I'm chewing my mint. Yeah, so I just have a couple of things, one of which may be a little bit extended, but I apologize in advance. Yesterday we had our 4th traffic safety and mitigation task force meeting. It was a very productive meeting, I thought. And there were several key highlights from last night's meeting and some of the earlier meetings as well that I think just it's worth mentioning at the work session. I'm sure there are people that watch our work sessions that don't watch the task force meeting. So I just wanted to review a couple of things since, we don't really talk about traffic in a granular fashion at these work session meetings. But, we have a couple of points that I wanted to review. And some of these key points I think will be outlined in our task force final report for the town's consideration. But one of which is we want to fill a traffic and safety director position to sort of obtain concerns from the community and respond to constituents, coordinate with the highway department, coordinate with the town engineer and our police department, so that there's one spot, one place that people can go with traffic concerns. I think, given how many traffic issues we deal with on a daily basis as a board, I think that this position would be very beneficial to sort of be geared toward siphoning those requests and comments to the proper channels in our government so that we can mobilize resources in an efficient manner. We're also going to be considering speed cameras on County Road 39. Our next meeting, which is scheduled for September 18th, the town police chief has organized to have a presentation on speed cameras, how they operate. We would need the state to be a partner in that. We would need enabling legislation. But we're also looking at ways we can consider other options, alternatives to those cameras that issue citations. But we're looking at that right now just to see what it's all about. We're not necessarily going to move in that direction, but I think it's important that we know about it and we understand the process of how we get there if we need to. We also are going to be investing in additional speed monitors. I know Councilman Pell is working with Highway and the town engineer to help us procure more monitors, because that's one of the biggest requests that I think we've been getting from the community is they would like a speed monitor because of cut through roads where people are speeding when they're held up in traffic for an hour. We've been talking a lot about interim traffic measures in various areas, but mainly on County Road 39 until the county project starts. We're thinking about a cone lane to act as sort of a zipper lane, open up a temporary third lane at peak commuting hours. We're looking at traffic circles in Watermill, Hampton Bays, also where County Road 39 and North Sea Road kind of back up. There's a lot of choke points. And we've been talking a lot about those. I recommend that folks go and review some of the meetings to see what we've been talking about. We're also going to be looking at expanding the blinking yellow light program where it makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of resources that go into it, but maybe there's ways we can expand it temporarily for certain parts of the summers going forward. And I know Tom Neely and Charlie McCardle are going to be working on that. And also Charlie McCardle is also going to be presenting next meeting on a particular idea that he had a concept that he wants to bring to the task force's attention. Another big topic that's been brought up, and it kind of pertains to what we've been talking about here, is zoning on County Road 39. I think with respect to questions of zoning on 39, I mentioned that we really need to, I think, involve Janice Shearer, our planning director, to kind of talk about what people envision in terms of making the zoning more consistent across the corridor. We've also been talking about permitting, looking at how many vehicles per building permit, is there a way to regulate that? Reinstating no left turns from side roads onto 39, you mentioned that. Co-chair McCardle also mentioned the idea of staggered work hours. That's it's been discussed. Again, in terms of the feasibility, that's a different question, but we're looking at that. We're looking at noise ordinance changes. We're looking at worker staging areas. We're also looking at an educational component, looking at safety campaign videos, PSA. The chief police is going to work with our AV team to record some videos that will go out in the beginning of the summertime to remind drivers to drive safely, to be cognizant of their fellow drivers on the road. Obviously, we're going to be looking at investing in more police officers. And we also talked about, and this will be in the report too, we want to find ways we could expand public transportation, whether it is the on-demand bus or making sure we're continuing to work with our state partners in the state assembly and senate to expand services with the South Fork commuter connection. And another thing that I didn't mention, but we need to also discuss state and federal funding, how that process works. I know recently Councilman Schiavone was able to be successful with getting funding for upgrades to Noyak Road. So we want to find out what the process is like, so that can be outlined in the report to guide future town policymakers on how we can not just expend town funds, but also use state, county, federal funding to do any infrastructure work and upgrades that are necessary in the future. My next update, thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I just want to say,
Yeah.
I think the meetings are very productive. And
Thank you.
for your leadership in coordinating.
Thank you, and thank you for being there for those meetings, Maria. It's great to have you there, and you offer great insights as well. And we have a great team, and I think co-chair McCardle said yesterday he really likes the fact that we're all like of different parts of the town.
Not political.
Right,
traffic's
not political. It's just focused on the issues, and we're looking at what works, the short-term solutions, the long-term solutions. So we're grappling with everything, and we're doing something. We're trying to do something, and I think that's good for the town and for its future. But I wanted to also mention something else very important to me, and I really want to thank Jamie Bowden and Sean Cambridge for their efforts and collaboration on this. We're going to be having a disability resource fair on November 2nd at the Hampton Bays Senior Center with the Southampton School District. It's going to be from 12 to 3. We're having a number of different vendors that will be there, private sector and public sector, to provide information about the services that they offer to help special needs individuals and family members. And really all of this is to sort of fill the gaps, because once kids graduate high school, and I know this based on the experience that my family has had with my sister, when you leave high school, finding a job program or trying to find additional financial assistance is not easy. It's a very complex jungle out there, and these resource fairs are very helpful to individuals and families who are sort of in that sort of zone where they don't know where to turn. So there'll be counselors there. Also, Juan Becerra, our HR director, has been very helpful too. He translated our disability resource document. That's number one, so it's in Spanish as well. And also, we have a flyer for this event that will be in Spanish. So we're trying to really enhance our reach to everybody throughout the town, because I think that this is a very important issue for the stability of families. And so, very, very happy that this is moving forward. I hope you all will join us for that important day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for being so long.
You forgot about the ribbon cut.
Oh I joined. Why don't you share it?
No, you're on a roll. Go ahead. No,
I don't have anything I'm going to say today, so why don't you go ahead and tell us about
let Michael do it. He can do it better.
Me and Councilman Pell visited the Heart of the Hamptons new HQ that it opened up on, where was it? It was
in Southampton Village, the old ambulance barn.
Yeah, the old ambulance barn, and really that's a testament to the efforts of Molly Bishop and the volunteers over there. They did a great job putting it. It's a beautiful facility, and just seeing all the food stacked on shelves, it really warms my heart. I even said that when they do the soup, they make soup in the fall. I said I'd like to come and join and exercise my chef skills. So I want to volunteer. Everybody should think about volunteering. And we should thank the village, both the past administration and this administration, for helping that project move along, because it's, I believe, a village building, and
Yes.
they were very helpful in that effort.
And I think they took a lot of heat for actually going
Doing
forward
that,
and
yeah.
changing it.
Mhm.
Took a lot of heat. They were at the Catholic Church, and they kind of got not evicted or booted, but
Just
asked to
not enough
leave.
space.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff behind it, but this is a better space. They help a tremendous amount of people in the community. They help other food pantries. I've been involved with years ago. I was one of the past presidents for a few years. So I really care about the place. It helps a lot of people because a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of people in Southampton who don't have enough money for food, especially in the wintertime.
Well, very good. Congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Happy for them.
I actually did have two things that
All right.
On Wednesday evening, Ryan Murphy and I joined the Atlantic Marine Conservation Society, and we were honored to release two cold-stunned Kemp's Ridley sea turtles. They are the most endangered sea turtles in the world, so it was really neat to see them. And I have to admit that when they said we were releasing sea turtles, I didn't know what kind, so I was expecting, to be hefting this sea turtle, and it came in this little banana box.
Where did it come from?
They were from Massachusetts. So they were recovered in Massachusetts. They brought them back to their facility in West Hampton. They had them for 230 days where they rehabilitated them, and they were finally able to be released. And it's not like seals. Sometimes they get on, they pop up. They hit the water and they're gone. You never see them again.
They were
Yeah.
adorable.
So that was really neat. I missed the ribbon cutting. I was yesterday at we had a meeting of our Addiction and Recovery and Behavioral Health Committee. We are kind of forging a path forward with that committee, deciding which way we want to go with that. I met with Tracy Colson, Jamie Bowden, and Kim Laube. We really want to start focusing on behavioral health because that's really the stem of a lot of the issues that we have. We're talking about forming a coalition, so there'll be more information coming on that. It's very, very preliminary stages, but we're definitely going to do some more work with that, with the community, and get some more partners involved with the town, because I think there is a disconnect with simply telling people call the county. I think we need more resources here within the town that are accessible. So.
Yeah. Please keep us updated on that.
Will do.
Thank you. Tommy John, do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Can you hear us okay? I hear you.
I can.
All right, well, if that's it, then move to go into executive session to discuss acquisitions, personnel, and confidential legal advice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.